Okay. Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube fam? This is Samuel Lake here representing Team JVS. I am back here again for another movie review. The name of this movie is called The Mitchells versus the Machines. Now, this is a Sony animated pictures film. This is being distributed on Netflix on April the 30th. I had the luxury of being able to see it very early, and I'm going to tell you that I very much so enjoyed it. I've been eyeing this film for quite some time, just because of what they were able to do with Into the Spider-Verse and how the animation style looked. And I was kind of like looking at this, I was like, oh, okay, this could actually be very intriguing, if not interesting, because just on the style alone and just the amount of like attention to detail with certain subtle nuances where some of the facial mannerisms would only be able to be done normally from like a 2D natural animation, but they're able to blend it so naturally with the 3D animation, and it's stylistically very different, and it's very interesting to actually watch. Now, as far as the backdrop of this, you got a very big cast lineup. So you got the main character here, who her name is Abby. This is played by Charlene Yee. My favorite thing from her is from Steven Universe. She plays the role of Ruby. You've also got actors in Eric Andre, who plays the role of Mark, who's kind of like the Mongol that's kind of like spearheading like the corporation, the Apple pseudo corporation, that's kind of like unfortunately allowing this all to happen, where Pal is kind of taking over. It's definitely a nod to iRobot in so many different ways, but Eric Andre does a really good job with that. But you also got Maya Randolph playing the role of Linda. You got Danny McBride, who's playing the role of Rick, the dad of the family, and it's actually really engagingly funny, man. Like I actually initially I was kind of like, what is going on here? And by the way, the director of this, Michael Rianda, also plays the role of the son, Aaron, but he's also the director. And if you've noticed, like the show Gravity Falls, he also was heavily involved in that as well. But as far as the story goes, essentially the family's kind of like, you first see them, they're on the run, you don't know what's going on, and they're basically being chased down by these crazy robots. And they're just literally trying to survive, and they're the last of the last. This is basically a post-apocalyptic situation, even though it seems kind of like more so current day. It just the situation completely blows out of hand. Then it goes in flashback to who these people are, and you have the character, like I said, Abby, who is very different. Like she's very into herself, and she's very weird, but at the same that time, she's very engaging, very smart, and she loves movies, and she wants to make movies. Um, that's all she really wants to do, and she's ready to go to college. And she's kind of estranged from her father. She gets along very well with her brother, and she gets very along with her mom. But her dad, there's a rift in their relationship, and you can kind of tell very early on that this is something that is going to be something that's either going to hurt or help them in the long run. Because at a certain point, you realize it's survival. It's survival at any cost. And this is still a very PG film. Like I was kind of like, how far are they really going to take this? And it's still very PG. They don't go too dark, but at the same that time, the stakes do feel very real. It's not as though like these robots are just like, gently, politely doing things. Like, no, like there does feel like a real threat. And I think that they use it in a very smart way, because the robots, their technology and the way they use their technology is very engaging, very interesting. Another big name in this that I was really surprised that they got this actress in this movie is Octavia Colson, because she actually plays the role of Pal, who is kind of the orchestrator or the ringleader that's doing all this. And Olivia Colman is an Oscar. She's about to be an Oscar winner, two-time Oscar winner, and she's an Emmy winner, and she's an amazing actress. And she plays the role of this basically Siri Alexa-esque character, and you're kind of understand what is her a motive drive. Like, why is she doing this? Why is she allowing this to kind of happen? And how is it possible that this family right here are going to be the ones to hopefully not only be the last, but be the salvation for humanity? And it's an interesting ride, man. I actually really had a lot of fun with it. I think the third and second acts for me were stronger than the first act, because just the action picks up. The animation's just out there, and the characters are put in these precarious situations that are just insane. If you've seen the trailer, Furby, like that's all. Like, there's moments that I really just could not stop laughing, and I had a lot of fun throughout. But there's also emotive moments. Like I said, one of the centerpieces is the family. The family's issues within their own communication, or whether it is their trust from one another, or their ability to be able to push through this situation, because this is unlike anything that the world's ever seen, let alone a family that in in Abbi's perspective is the worst family ever. And it's interesting to see the beginning. And I actually, to be honest with you, after I watched the film, I immediately wanted to watch it again. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Initially, I was kind of like, oh, this is okay. But I will talk about some of the things I didn't like. But I do want to give some small little like Easter egg mentions, because John Legend and his wife actually played a role. They're playing the roles of the perfect family that's right next door, that they kind of compare themselves to, and they just are so on key and on point. And I think they did a really good job as far as the voice acting in this. But the things that I loved was the animation style. The third act is freaking amazing. It's just insane. And I had so much fun with it. And I think that also the score worked a lot better in symmetry towards the back half, whether it's the song selections, whether it was the score, or whether there was intensity. The emotive moments hit very well in the third act. Third act was almost perfect to me. As a matter of fact, there's some extra scenes towards the back end that, to me, I was like, oh, this world, I want to see more. Give me more. And again, this does kind of take a lot from luxuries from stuff we've seen in the past. Like I said, I Am Legend before, but this also is very funny. This is also very heartfelt. This is also very thrilling. And the dog. That's all I'm gonna say. So cute. So cute. But what about the things I didn't like about it? So for me, the very opening first act, to me, it wasn't that it was boring. It was more so that I wasn't connecting with some of the voice acting moments. Like some of the moments from specifically the character Rick, played by Danny McBride. I just felt like the voice and the moments and the timing just didn't sound as good. But I think, honestly, the real reason why it didn't work is because they were just silent moments. One of the things that I realized very early on watching this film is that the reason why I really loved Into Spider-Verse, yes, the animation was great. Yes, the story was perfect. But Daniel Penbrook, his score, as well as the songs in the actual soundtrack, make up a big part of that film. It fills in all the gaps moments where it's just downtime. And the first act of this, maybe one sound selection, maybe some small score moments here or there, but it just was weak. The first act, as far as the score, and then technically throughout, there were moments that I felt like, man, this would be a really good placement for a song, or a really random song moment. One of the things I did like about the Tom and Jerry film that came out on HBO Max was that the soundtrack felt up to date and it felt like it was there. Now, I'm not saying that this movie doesn't have some really good song selection. I'm not saying it doesn't have some good score moments. In the third act and in the second act, the back half of the second act, that you see that. But the first and second act, it was kind of like, it could have been there. And this is just nitpicking. I'm gonna be very honest with you. This isn't like a make or break. I think you're still like, kids are gonna really love this film. I think families are gonna be really like, oh wow, this is crazy, this is fun. Maybe a little cheesy at the beginning, but then it really does go for it and just does not let you go. Another weird thing that kind of happens is that you can't see the characters crying. I know that sounds really weird. It sounds really weird to say, But it's true. One of the things within the Spider-Verse, I could tell when Miles or anybody else, when there was like emotions flaring up, because it's almost photorealistic the way that the textures of the face of the characters are. I can't tell when they're actually crying or not. There's one moment towards the very last moment, I was like, well, look, I need to see somebody cry to act that bit. And I knew, I was like, I feel like people are crying when they're supposed to be crying, but I'm not actually seeing it like with my actual eyes. And I thought that was something just weird. Like it wasn't like a nitpick. Well, it is a nitpick, but it's kind of like, it was weird. It was just really weird. Other than that, I actually had a really fun time with this film. I honestly would go and watch this immediately right again. Like the characters are very bubbly, they're very weird, and they're very engaging. The action, when the action is actually going on, I am all the way for it. When the comedy works, it works really well. Not to say that every single comedic moment works. I'm not saying that, but I am saying when it is working, I think it's working very well, and I think it complements the animation style, and I think it complements the characters they build. And also, one thing that I want to say, but I can't. This is a non-spoiler review. I can't believe I'm talking about so much without spoiling anything. Is that the characters are layered? They are, like, they're written very well. Sometimes the voice actors don't complement as well as the characters are actually written. But I think that the layers behind every single one of these characters is so engaging. From if it's Aaron, if it's Linda the mom, oh my God, it's Linda the mom. Definitely Abby. Like there's certain things and verbiage with her character. If you don't pay attention to in the very beginning, even towards the end, you're gonna miss it. And it's just so subtly done that I was like, this is interesting. Even the character Rick, again, I think Daniel McBride in the very first act, I think that some of the voice acting didn't hit for me, but towards the second and third act, I think it's a lot better. But his character and the way that his character was written, that's interesting layers. And I was all the way for it. So that by the time the third act hit, I was cheering for the family. I was. And I wasn't on some like, oh, well, hopefully they make it through. Like, no, I was rooting for them. I was like enjoying myself. And if anything I can say about this film, this is a film that you're really going to enjoy. It's very entertaining, very heartfelt. It's for the families. It's not something you have to worry about from a language or a violence standpoint. Is very good, and I actually really enjoyed it. I would rest this at an 8.5 or 8 out of 10. Highly recommend you go and check out this film, The Mitchells versus the Machines. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later on. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell button. We'll be back a little bit later on for a lot more amazing content coming from Netflix that you don't want to miss. Peace, guys.